Not long ago, Africa's railways were designed to take the goods out of the continent, not connect it. Colonial tracks led from the mine to the port and nowhere in between. But now, the direction is flipped. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, new lines are being laid for us, by us. Africa isn't riding someone else's train anymore. We're building our own railway empire. Let's check it out.
All across the continent, from Egypt to South Africa, massive developments are transforming the rail landscape. The upgrading of trade corridors and introduction of new high-speed trains are redefining the movement of goods and people, something rail companies were upbeat about at the Africa Rail Conference in Johannesburg.
If you look at Morocco, we have delivered Africa's first high-speed train, 350 kilometers running very efficiently. We have seen Egypt moving into the phase where they will start implementing their own high-speed train. We see South Africa is at inception talking about how do we make this possible.
The advancements positions the rail sector as a vital economic building block and an enabler to the much-anticipated African Free Trade Area. According to the African Union, intra-continental trade remains way below 20%, a trend the continent is set on changing in the next few decades.
We should see the development and the upgrade of rail on the continent as a whole as a very positive development to facilitate trade amongst ourselves as African partners. We obviously would be very interested as a manufacturing hub, and of course we are also very interested in receiving imports from our neighbors that could also help our own domestic trade and industry to develop.
To realize this vision, massive capital injection and close cooperation is required with global partners such as China and the US, as well as private players.
I think for me it's making sure that we see these alternatives, finance instrumentation as a strength than as a weakness. We need to create skills in the country so that when we're constructing and operating these railways, they're not just only for the time when we're building and operating, but they stay and they are sustainable.
Stumbling blocks, however, remain in the upkeep of trains and railway lines, a cost many countries are unable to carry. While the introduction of digital technologies poses a challenge in countries with old and outdated systems.
It's about how do we use AI, first of all, in making sure that we are protecting and securing the infrastructure that we are investing into. But second to that is also just making sure that we're using technology to be able to predict what possible breakdowns and maintenance and how is tech going to be able to also ensure the long lifespan of the infrastructure.
Rail nevertheless provides a cheap and reliable mode of transport for passengers and trade once the trains hit the track. If Africa is to move away from roads and advance towards becoming a trade powerhouse, we will have to work harder at building more efficient networks.
So listen, guys, over 200 billion in transport investments are remapping the entire continent. Kenya's standard gauge railway connects Mombasa to Nairobi and to Naivasha, cutting freight time in half. Nigeria's Lagos-Kano modernization links Western Africa's largest cities for the first time in 50 years. Ethiopia to Djibouti's electric railway now moves 90% of Ethiopia's imports with zero emissions. Senegal's regional express train, or the TER, glides from Dakar to the new city of Diamniadio in under 45 minutes. And Morocco's El Barak high-speed rail, Africa's fastest, hits 320 kilometers an hour between Tangier and Casablanca. Each route isn't just a line on the map. It's a statement of movement. So when people think about railways or trains as relics, right? Africa should skip straight to highways and air cargo. But the truth is, rail moves freight almost 3 times faster or 3 times cheaper and 5 times cleaner than road transport. So it's not nostalgia, it's strategy, right? So mobility equals unity. Every kilometer of track that we have is another thread stitching 54 economies into one. So thanks to the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AfCFTA, these new lines aren't isolation, they're arteries. Container trains can now run from Mombasa to Kampala in 48 hours, right, instead of 2 weeks. Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire are upgrading their Abidjan to Ouagadougou corridor to carry 1 million tons of goods a year. New dry ports in Rwanda and Zambia connect landlocked nations directly to global shipping routes, right? So the result is trade costs are down, delivery speed is up, and continental GDP is increasing. So while trains move cargo, electric buses and motorcycle fleets move people. So think Kigali, Lagos, and Nairobi, which are all now e-mobility capitals of the global south. So by the year, we'll say 2030, right? Africa plans to complete the Trans-African highway and rail network. And the idea is to complete this 60,000 kilometers of track linking Cairo to Cape Town and Dakar to Djibouti. So think about foreign investors here. China and the EU and the African sovereign funds are all co-financing this. But the key detail here is that the African Union Transport Master Plan ensures control stays local within Africa. So meanwhile, Air Senegal, Kenya Airways and Ethiopian Airlines, Burkina Airlines, Somali Airlines are expanding regional routes under a single air market policy. So the idea is to turn Africa into one flight grid, right? So the message is clear, simple, flat out. Movement is no longer going to be extraction based. It's totally based on self-reliance and expansion. So the biggest story here is that this isn't just steel or just stations, right? Is that Africa's finally owning the journey, right? So from colonial cargo lines to continental trade corridors, we've switched tracks permanently. So just think about it. Have our own our own train systems, our own rail systems connecting the entire continent. Think about the free flow of people and of goods and how beneficial that is for us all. So, mashallah, that's your Africa Insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because on Mr. Empower TV, we don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.